Hey everyone, welcome back to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird, and today we are going to have another Dylan's New Nightmare focused episode because I finally got the opportunity to sit down long distance with someone that's playing a big part behind the scenes of the short film, and that person is Mark Phillips, aka the Blacksmith of Horror, who runs Nightmares Unlimited. Now, this gentleman is a very talented gentleman, and I'm going to let him go ahead and describe a bit about what he does in just a minute. But first, let me say welcome, Mark. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Cecil. I
Absolutely.
appreciate
No problem at all. No problem at all. So, yeah, as I said, I know what you did. We did a whole interview with you at Texas Frightmare from this past year, and I'm going to link to that at the end of the episode and then in the description box so people can check that out at any point. But why don't you just, in your own words, explain to everyone kind of what you do? What is your day to day? Because you're a man that's working for himself and creating some really awesome stuff.
Okay, well, our slogan is hardcore props for hardcore fans. And we basically do a lot of replicas, a lot of metal work. We're branching out into sculpting and illustration and stuff like that, but it's mainly horror related. We do some sci-fi, and we also do some comic book stuff now. So
Nice.
we do a lot of custom work too. I mean, I don't mind making the replicas, but the fun stuff is letting my imagination run wild and coming up with some crazy combos and concoctions.
Well, I've seen some of those combos and concoctions, and they're definitely at times mad scientist like, and at times just really smooth and awesome, and in all cases, really just amazing and unique. So. I commend you for that. And as a matter of fact, the things that you specifically had out at Texas Frightmare, where you were focused on that particular, at that convention, on Phantasm, Reanimator, and Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Right. Those are our three core items, I guess you could say. It started when I started, it was over 15 years ago. I started building back in 2000. Oh my God, it's been almost 20 years. I'm old as hell. Oh man. So yeah, so almost 20 years now, but it started out with, making Freddy gloves, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I like working with the metal. So we rolled into Phantasm, and I've always been a big fan of all these franchises. And Reanimator, I didn't see a lot of stuff out there, and I really love Reanimator. It's a great dark comedy that doesn't get enough love, I don't think. So
Mm-hmm.
we came up with a solution. Me and my girlfriend slash assistant Julie came up with a concoction for the green liquid that goes in them, and we've been trying to branch out with other things. Like I said, comic books and sci-fi and stuff like that. But it's not just replicas anymore. We're starting to branch out and do a lot of our own original ideas, and that is really what made the company take off, was the original takes on classic items.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, do you have a couple of examples? And maybe I can throw up some pictures of them when I put the episode up there.
I do, actually.
Oh, you've
I
got
got
some right there, even better.
right here is our most popular seller, our most popular glove. It's a part 3 glove.
Nice.
The lighting in here kind of sucks. I apologize.
No, it looks good. That's awesome. Now you took that, and what are some of the those unique creations you were talking about where you're starting to branch out? And like, you don't have to have one to show necessarily, but I can show a picture of it, like some of those mashups that you've done and some of the more creative original stuff.
That's perfectly put as mashups. I take two properties. Usually it's Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'll take another franchise and mash the two together. I've done it so many times. And we did it with Reanimator. We did it with Phantasm. So we took our three cores and we started mismatching them. I've combined Phantasm and Reanimator. It was a sphere, and it had like a Reanimator needle coming out of the bottom where the screw should go. We've done Hellraiser, Nightmare on Elm Street. Most recently, I just did an Evil Dead Necronomicon wrapped glove, and that one kind of broke the internet for a while.
Yeah,
It was
talk about that for a sec, because that almost killed you, right?
it blew up. I was working on it for months, and it didn't take months to build, but I had to figure out each aspect of it because I brought a lot of elements into it that I've never done before. So it took me a while to figure that out. I had to put cracks into the copper, which essentially I just took a Dremel, and after I sharpied out the cracks in the copper, I ran, it's like fake neon.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath the glove, the whole length of the glove. I had to figure out how to attach it to make sure that it didn't pop through or come off. And the whole thing was a process. And it took such a long time. It was so time consuming. And it took me months because I would work on it for like 2 days straight and then have to just walk away from it for a while, do something else, come back to it. And it was kind of crazy. A friend of mine had the idea. I do a lot of customs for him, and he threw this one at me, and he's like, can you make this happen? So I just sat down with a piece of paper, drew out a few different ways I wanted to attack it, and got his approval, and then we jumped on it. And this glove has everything. It has a brass inlaid wraparound that goes into the leather, up into the copper fingers. I've never done anything like that before. And it's just a relief of the Necronomicon itself. And the eyes are cut out, so the eyes glow red when you turn it on. All the cracks glow red when you turn it on, and it's double bladed on each finger.
That's so awesome. I when I saw it, it just looked so slick and mean and just awesome, dude. So I've been showing pictures this whole time so everyone can see it. Now, after we met at Texas Frightmare, a couple of months later, I reached out to you and was like, hey, so I have this idea, and I kind of pitched it to you. So what was your initial reaction when I came to you with the idea and asked you about, possibly doing this?
The idea of the movie was, I thought, brilliant. And I can't believe that it was never pursued before. And when you pitched the idea to me, it was so unique and original, and it just flows with the continuity of the movies. Like, in my opinion, Wes Craven's New Nightmare was one of the most underrated of the series, but it's one of the best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was, it came out with Scream not too long after that. So he was already doing the, how do you say it?
The meta, the meta-ness.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was testing the waters.
Self-aware horror movies.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And picking fun at them, and like, to me, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, it was Wes's, it was practice for Scream to come, and using an old property and putting a new spin on it. And he had something there, so he introduced the same ideas and concepts into Scream. So just flowed organically. His career did that way.
Yeah, that was actually part of my next question was, what did you think of Wes Craven's New Nightmare? Because, since this is so reliant on that being a sequel to it, I wanted to make sure when I first approached you that you were a fan. And luckily you kind of agreed with me on it. So that's awesome. And I'm glad that you felt kind of the same way. So our idea was basically because my favorite glove otherwise was the Nightmare 4 glove, which you have the Nightmare 3 glove. I've got a Nightmare 4 glove right here just so people can see what it is. So I've got that one right there. You can see the etchings on it. That's why I wanted to show this one, because it's got the etchings. This I actually got before I actually knew Mark, but it's not one of Mark's, but it is still the same look. So I wanted to show that because that's one of the things that we kind of wanted to carry over a little bit, since it was, one of the better looking gloves. And then other than that, we just wanted to mash it up with the Wes Craven's New Nightmare glove. And that one was fun, and it was a nice divergence, but I thought you actually agreed with me on the fifth blade. I thought it was a bit excessive and non-functional. I believe that's what you said. I'm not sure, but yeah. So
yeah, it's so impractical.
Yeah.
To have some blade.
And then the musculature was cool and the bones were cool, but overall it was just a bit too bulky. The whole arm of it was a little too much, and so I wanted to kind of go away from that, but I wanted to respect that design. So we were hoping to kind of mash it up. That's all we really talked about before I, basically said, hey, let's see what you can come up with, kind of thing. And you took the ball and ran with it from there. So how did the thing sort of start to take shape in your mind? What is your process kind of like when it comes to that conceptualizing?
Oh God, I've never tried to describe what's going on in my mind, Cecil.
Well, take a moment.
Okay. Well, no, as you were telling me what you were thinking, I kept visualizing it in my head as you spoke. And when you said you wanted to go back more old school, but you wanted to keep New Nightmare elements into it, and I agreed with you 100%. And one of the first things we both agreed on is get rid of the damn thumb blade. God, that is just, it doesn't look right, and it's goofy. It's kind of goofy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, all right, let's get rid of that. I mean, it worked in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but it still bothered me. So
there was actually a moment where I think it threw everything off for me, because that extra blade made it look weird when he was pulling it down on the coffin, because it kind of fluttered a little bit compared to the other ones. And it doesn't look right, and it doesn't work the same when he's grabbing stuff. It would be way more cumbersome than need be and stuff like that. Yeah. Completely impractical. Yeah. I mean, how do you pick up your victim by their ankle? It's you're going to cut yourself and stuff. But yeah, so go ahead, please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt. How does it continue to take shape in your head?
Oh, that's okay. Well, we talked about doing it leather again, and I'm thinking about it in my head, and I was like, well, we can do the red copper on it, because there's a process that builders use to bring out reds and copper, and to keep it like all metal but still give it a biomechanical feel to it. At one point we discussed, and I thought, maybe we could do a red leather on it. And I started doing tests on that while I was in the building process. And I was like, you know what? That's too much red. It took away from the armature, and, replacing, and I had the idea in my head, all the bone pieces that we were referencing to the glove you wore in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, to replace that with strictly stainless steel. I was like, you know what? It's a fantastical glove. Like Wes Craven's New Nightmare was a fantastical glove, and we want to drag it back to old school, but still keep that fantastical look. So I had the thought of mirror polishing all the stainless on to really make it pop. And when I put it against the red that I was working on, it just got lost. And I was like, you know what? I want to run this past you. And we talked about it, and I was like, let me put this on a black leather, because it's going to make the entire thing pop. And thankfully it worked out. I think it worked out anyway.
Absolutely it did. So I'm going to go ahead and grab it at this point.
Sure.
So I can show everyone what we're talking about. Now, the other thing that, the other thing about the polished steel is that it is actually still a reference to New Nightmare too, when you think about it, that first glove, right? The really aggressive metal glove at the beginning. So it kind of brings in that too. But I think this whole thing to me is a complete work of art. And
Thank you.
The crowning achievement though, and probably the thing that I imagine must have taken the longest for you to get and to make sure it stuck and stayed, is all the copper wire veinage that you put together. Because that is that's what I think really brings it all together as sort of the mashup from the original, is that we now have veinage, over the bones and into the red armatures, like you said. And then, it's just the black glove underneath just makes it all pop. And then again, now, why, real quick, why did you choose the New Nightmare blades? I totally agree with the choice. I think they're way meaner myself, but what was your choice, or thinking on it, rather?
Well, you get to a point where if you don't have any reference to Wes Craven's New Nightmare in there, that it feels lost in translation. I mean, you can see like the evolution of it,
Mm-hmm.
tying certain elements into New Nightmare. Like it, to me, I wanted to bridge the biomechanical glove with the old school all metal and leather glove, and the only way to do that was to put in certain elements of the New Nightmare glove.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest elements to put into it, honestly, are the blades.
Really?
The most recognizable, the most curved from that movie.
Mm-hmm. I always loved them. I thought the New Nightmare blades always, like I said, just looked a little bit meaner. Like they, really, like there's a certain level of angle that he has to get with those other blades to get those deep cuts in those early
Right.
movies. This one, he can do it a bit more from below and really get into it like he does it with Chase in the truck and everything. But now, what made you decide to do the copper wire veinage? Because that was a pretty brilliant stroke of genius there.
If you've seen up close the New Nightmare glove, it's got a lot of veining in it because it's supposed to look like muscle, like stripped of the skin. And I figured by putting copper veining in it, I could keep it metal and not flesh-like, but it would add a certain element of that biomechanical feel without actually being veins.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ties into the boiler room and steam pipes and steam fittings and stuff like that. And I just adds to it being fantastical and dreamlike too, because Wes Craven's thing. I mean, his hand was essentially the glove.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just kind of a reference to the muscle tissue and stuff. That's why the copper's red.
Mm-hmm.
That's why copper veins on it is to make it look as organic as possible, but still metal.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And again, I think you knocked it completely out of the park. It's so awesome. And it's a complete, that's what's nice about it. It is a complete showpiece in addition to be a functional on-camera glove. So the people, now those of you that don't know, well, actually I'll talk about that at the end, but people can actually get their hands on one for a very limited time after this episode goes up. So I'll tell you how to do that at the end of this interview here. But now since we talked about sort of the conceptualization of it, how did the actual creation of it go down? Like, what did you make first? How long did it take you, from start to finish, if you had to estimate, and, all that good stuff?
Okay. What I did is I started with a base. I have a base template that I use on all my custom work, and I modify that base template based on where I want to go with the design. And this seemed like a pretty straightforward design because we want to keep some elements from the earlier movies into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept the templates pretty basic, but I modified them with a lot of heat and stuff. What I really started with first is because, I don't know, there's a lot of trial and error into going and doing gloves that I've never done before.
Mm-hmm.
And when you order custom work, I usually like to do at least one full finger first to make sure it's going to, one, function properly, and two, you're going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not going to like it, I don't want to build a whole glove and have to scrap it.
Right.
I'd like to build one finger at a time. Once you approved and you like the direction it was going, then it starts off with, just like any other glove I do, it starts off with the copper work and the back plate. Then I attach the blades, and then I start putting all the trim work on. I cut the trim work out, polish all that up, and then I start trying to figure out how I'm going to piece it together. And before I can piece it together like that, I use cardstock and stuff. Like I'm sitting there trying to point, like you can see what I'm pointing
Sorry,
at.
yeah.
Like on the bones.
Uh-huh.
I would take the cardstock templates that I made for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I would attach them, and I'd do like a kind of like a dry fitting
Gotcha.
before I pounded everything in place. I'd do a dry fitting with them, make sure they were going to look right, function properly. I needed to stick up off the back plate a little bit so I could get the copper around in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I color everything before I put the blades on. And then I just start assembling pieces here and there. I try to get the complete finger done, so I'm not, before I put them on, attach them to the back plate, so I'm not fighting with the whole glove trying to put the copper on it and all that, because that could be a pain.
And if you had to guesstimate a number of hours that you put into this, and no judgment, no matter what that hour ends up being?
15 to 20 probably.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time to make it as good as you did, because it's so fucking cool. So sorry.
Because it was the first, it's the first one I made, so.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be making more of them.
Yes, sir. Yep.
I'll do them all at the same time. That way it cuts down my production time a little bit.
Awesome. Cool. No, I'm excited because I'm actually going to order a couple extra myself just to take to some cons with us and everything like that, so we can advertise and all that good stuff. So now moving on. I'm sorry.
Part of this project.
Oh man, I'm so happy to have you as a part of it, because I mean, look, it's already paying off. Oh, and let's not forget about the little chrome bead as well. You decided to do the chrome bead, and I think that came off super sweet along with the rest of the glove here. So now the next question I had is how ultimately do you feel about the end result? Obviously, I'm a big fan of it, but were you happy? Did it come close to the vision that you had when you started?
Actually, yeah. And I know I sound shocked by that, but I took a sabbatical from the hobby for a long time, and I came back. When I came back 5 years ago, I started planning everything new that I was doing. I put it on paper, and see how it was going to look before I start building. Instead of putting the cart before the horse, I actually did things correct.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten to the point now, with, knock on wood here, that what I envision in my head, I can translate to paper, work out all the bugs, and then I can translate that into what you're wearing right now.
That's awesome.
It's, I've been doing it almost 20 years, so it's like, it takes a while. It takes a while. So.
Dude, that's a rare talent.
With the end result, especially when we made the decision to go with the black leather instead of red. And I was like, because I pictured it in my head, and I pictured it with the red. And I was like, yeah, and I only did like part of the glove before I put it up against the red armature. And I'm like, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at the black, I could see how red would be just too much, too distracting, and it would lose the good work that you did on the armature against the red a little bit too much. This really allows it to pop against the black. So I do think that was a stroke of genius. I'm really glad you came up with that, because it totally worked, man. So so you're happy with it then?
Yes, and I also thought about like shots you might have in mind for a movie, because I haven't read the script yet. Mm-hmm. But I had thoughts of some of the shots you might be doing for your movie. And I was like, if he's coming out of the darkness, the glove part is going to kind of disappear, and the armature and the bone, everything about it is going to pop without the leather distracting it. Mm-hmm. And even when he's in light, the black just sets off the copper, the reds, the blacks in the red. It kind of ties it all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it totally does, and I still think, and the people that actually watch this will get this little bit of insight if it ends up going in the movie. I still think I'm going to commission you to do one where the blades and the arm, the bones here are glow in the dark. I still think that would be so cool. Just one shot of that, where that's just going through, like in a shot or two, like coming up. Oh man, I just have a lot of ideas. I can't tell how it would work into the script without giving away too much to the audience, but yeah, I think that might come off as pretty cool. And even if I don't end up using it in the movie, it would be a really, really cool piece just to have in the house. So
yeah, you just get a get a shadow box and run some of the black light LEDs they got now.
Oh hell yeah, that's a great idea.
plug it in, and boom, all that stuff would pop right
Yeah,
out.
something like you did with your Reanimator stuff. That shadow
Yeah.
box with the needle. Yeah, hell yeah, that'd be dope. Cool, man. All right. Well, next up, I did want to know. So, what is it like now knowing? So, I'm actually going to combine a couple of questions here. So, we are, as of right now, we have about 9 days left in the campaign as we record this. As you guys see this, there's going to be 5 days left. But, as we record this, we are just about at 30,000 raised. And that means that we're definitely going to be able to do the whole movie. Might not be quite all the bells and whistles we were going to try and do if we had raised the whole amount, but we still have 5 days left as you guys watch this, so help us get to that full amount, and you'll see just what cool stuff we had planned from the very start. But nonetheless, you have made a glove that, we have now raised $30,000 to make this installment of. And that's just based on the teaser that we've put out, which featured your work, and your work is a part of one of the perks, so people can get your work through the campaign. Like, how does it feel to know that not only you're a part of that, a campaign where we're going to successfully fund the movie, but you're also now technically part of the Nightmare franchise, even if it is in a unofficial capacity?
It's pretty special. Honestly, I feel very humbled by that. I met Wes once.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough to meet him. He did a lecture at Syracuse University because he used to teach in my neck of the woods, only about 40 minutes from where I currently live. He was a professor at Potsdam. I think it was Potsdam. It was up in Potsdam. And while he was doing a lecture in Syracuse, and obviously being a huge Nightmare fan. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street is really what got me into horror movies to begin with.
That's awesome.
Growing up, I was always a fan of horror, but it was Freddy, and more in particular, Freddy's glove. That was my first horror love and crush.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to do something honors him. It's very, like I said, it's very humbling to me. And when you approached me about it, I was super excited. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Well, we don't know what we're doing yet. Count me in. I'm going to do it. I want to help you out. But I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to be a part of it. And I'm super excited. This is going to be made. Thank you all that contributed. And for those who are watching this now, just a little bit more. We get all the bells and whistles.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
I'm very excited to be a part of this, and very grateful that you contacted and reached out to me.
Well, I'm very grateful that you not only accepted but more than rose to the challenge. You've knocked it out of the park, and I can't wait to see other people, get their gloves and do unboxings and things like that, like get their own version to put along with their other gloves and things like that. Like, that's what really excites me, man, is that this is going to be a piece that people can literally put next to the new Nightmare glove because it's next chronologically. Do you know what I mean? And so right now there's only a few people that have picked up the perk, so there's still a few left because honestly it's a limited number. We can't have Mark making, this glove only for an entire year. He's got a real job to do too, making all of his other wonderful creations. But if you want, you can get this. And just so you guys know, right now, the last 5 days of the campaign, this glove perk, I've put it up as a special final week perk where it's a very special price. So go and check it out. It's more affordable than it has been the entire campaign because, frankly, we just want to share the love this last 5 days, signifying now that Mark is on the channel, actually getting to talk about it. This is something I've been planning to do for a while. Unfortunately, it took me forever to get it all together, but thank you very much for making the time to come on, Mark. It was a blast talking to you, and once again, thank you for your incredible work on this piece of magnificence here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the compliments. I'm just glad you're happy with it. And I'm glad that I could lend my services to help you get your vision made.
I can't wait for it. And I hope...
Me, and from what I've heard, and Miko is on board, and he's super excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're doing this franchise justice. And if I thought it was, honestly, if I thought it was a bad idea or I didn't like the story, I would have had a lot of reservations. But I really, really like what you're doing. You're keeping it real. You're keeping it true to Wes Craven's original vision. And, you know, we need more fans like you that have a vision, that know what other fans want. And you have your, you know, you have your finger on the pulse of the Nightmare community. And it's really, really important.
Oh, ow. I appreciate that, man. No, thank you very much. I really do. It is a labor of love, but obviously none of it would have come together without all the pieces involved, and yours is a pretty damn important piece to this puzzle. So again, thank you. Now, before I let you go, I do want to ask you two questions. One, what do you have coming up that you can talk about that you want to tell people about? And then the second part to the question is, where can people go to keep track of all of said projects?
Okay, so outside of doing my normal work and the work for you, this winter I'll be concentrating on my most ambitious concept glove ever, and it's basically a whole costume I'm putting together.
Hell yeah.
And it is all centered around steampunk. It is going to be a full arm and shoulder piece. I'm doing goggles for it, and I'm doing a leg piece, so it kind of balances it all out.
Dude.
So it's a Victorian costume, and I'm going to change Freddy's look up a little bit.
Dude, that's awesome. Are you going to put little blades on the leg piece too?
You'll have to wait and see.
Okay, all right, yeah, sorry. I genuinely, I love your stuff, so I'm like, I already have questions. I'm like, wait, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? But I guess as a fan, I should just shut up and wait and see the beauty as it's unveiled. So that's awesome.
It's been my pet project pretty much since I came back 5 years ago, but I've been so swamped with work, and I've been doing other concepts for people, and it's like, you know what? The Evil Dead glove just about killed me. So
yeah,
I'm putting all concepts on hold for now, and custom work. I'm pushing custom work back. If people want it, they're going to have to wait a little bit.
Gotcha.
I want to concentrate on this project. It's my Moby Dick. And
awesome.
He has to go out and get his whale.
Man, I can't wait to see that. That's really. I mean, I will. I'll wait because I have to. But no, it's really exciting. I love steampunk stuff, so I'll be interested as hell to see what you come up with there. And yeah, if you ever get around to doing that other new Nightmare glove, I'd be very excited about that as well.
I want to. That's one of the ones I have to put on the back burner. A lot of people have been approaching me about that, and there's a bunch of us working on a special new Nightmare project, and I can't really reveal that.
You're killing me, Smalls, but I get it. Just make sure that you hold one aside of whatever it is for me.
I will. It's going to be very limited quantity. I think 5,
yes.
And three of them are going to the group members.
Sweet. Okay. So. Well, I'll take one of the other 2. Thank you very much. All right. That's verbally binding. So,
you heard it here first, everybody.
Now, where can people go to follow you on either a good website or your social medias, or what's the best place to follow you or find you?
All right. So in March, you can find us at Monster Mania, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find us at Horror Hound Weekend, Cincinnati, Ohio. After that, we might do Monster Palooza out in LA. We're still kind of feeling that one out.
That's what we want to do.
From there, Texas Frightmare Weekend in May.
Gotcha.
How the hell did I forget that one? It's so hard to get it. Yeah, we're doing horror trophies now too. We do them for Texas Frightmare. We do them for Horror Hound.
Nice.
Yeah, we do them for Scarefest. So that's starting to become a thing for us too, is doing horror trophies.
Damn, it sucks when you accidentally keep stumbling into all this work, right?
Yeah. I just I try to never say no to work. Some things I just can't do. Mm-hmm. I don't know how, but usually it's like somebody will come to me with a weird request, and they'll be like, "Hey, can you do this?" Hell yeah, I can do that. I'm getting done talking to them, and my girlfriend's like, "How do you do that?" I have no idea, but I'm gonna figure it out. And it's important to try new things and not say no. So we just keep going with the flow. And it was actually the trophies that helped get us a spot at Texas Frightmare, because he saw what we did with Horror Hound. He was a fan of our work, Lloyd, and he's like, "Hey, would you make some trophies for us?" And that got us into that. So we're doing the trophies again this year for Texas Frightmare. We're doing the trophies for Horror Hound and Scarefest. And so after Texas Frightmare, we come back home and we get ready for Monster Mania, Cherry Hill in August, and Horror Hound Cincinnati in September. So right now we have 5 that are locks, but we're looking to do Monster Palooza and possibly Flashback Weekend or another Monster Mania. It's getting harder and harder for us to do conventions because my company's kind of taken off a lot. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's the good and bad of being popular and good at what you do.
Well, I'm okay.
Well, modesty always means talent. In my estimation, if there's 2 people bragging about, or if there's 2 people that do the same thing and one of them is bragging about it, but the other one's just like, yeah, I'm okay, but their work speaks for themselves, usually it's the people that aren't the braggers that are the more talented. So I think you fall in that category.
I hope so. I like building cool stuff. I'm just glad people dig it.
So where can people go outside of the conventions to get to follow you on social media or contact you if they want to get on your very long down the road list?
Well, regular orders I take all the time.
Okay.
And you can find us on Etsy, Nightmares Unlimited on Etsy. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Nightmares Unlimited. There's actually a link, a shop now button that'll take you right to our Etsy store.
Nice.
If you see something that I do or that we do and it's not on our Etsy store, just contact us, because sometimes, we're still working out bugs on things, or some of it's limited. So I try and keep control of all the orders I have coming in by keeping some of the other labor-intensive stuff off of Etsy, so I don't get like 6 orders for Hellraiser gloves. It'd be like, that's going to take a lot of time. But
or like 10 Dylan's New Nightmare gloves.
Yeah. Well, if you bill them all at once, it's not so bad.
I gotcha. Well, right on, man. Well, do you have any final words for anyone? Yeah, please.
Well, we're on Instagram too.
Oh, I apologize. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
Nightmare. Well, I ramble. So Nightmares_Unlimited on Instagram.
Okay.
Hashtag Blacksmith of Horror will pop up. Everything that we're doing. And we just acquired the rights to NightmaresUnlimited.com back after losing it for 10 years.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that.
An asshole out in San Francisco was holding it hostage when I let it expire, when I took my sabbatical, and I was going to pay him $20,000 for my name.
Oh, jeez.
Finally got that back, so hopefully we'll be working on a website soon. All right. Sorry about that. I'm done rambling.
No, you're good. No. I wanted to make sure you got all that in there. I apologize for cutting you off in the middle. So,
I'm just going to hold up cue cards.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Mark. I'm excited about this, and hopefully we can arrange it where you can come out for at least a day when we're filming and stuff like that, because it'd be fun to have you out on set and meet everyone and all that good stuff.
I love being on set.
Awesome. Well, we'll figure out a way to make that happen.
All right, we'll figure it out.
All right, sir. Well, thank you again for joining us. Say again?
Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So congratulations to us all, really. So wouldn't have happened without your help. So again, a tremendous thank you for taking the risk and doing it. And I'm really excited that you're a part of the project. So remember, guys, make sure you go and check him out. Nightmares Unlimited, Nightmares_Unlimited on Instagram, and soon NightmaresUnlimited.com. But yeah, that is Mark. Find him at all those conventions he mentioned, because if you're in any of those areas, they're more than worth getting, buying a ticket to whatever day you want to just to go and see Mark and all of his awesome stuff. I would highly recommend, if it's a 3-day convention, I would highly recommend buying your ticket for Friday, because his table always looks discernibly different on Sunday than it does on Friday.
And we get kind of busy sometimes.
Yeah, well, we saw you Friday and we saw you Sunday, and like 80% of your inventory had been sold. So it goes to your talent. So if anyone wants to actually buy something, I recommend going the first day of the convention. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you again to Mark for joining us. And until next time, you guys, make sure you click the link in the description box for the link to Dylan's New Nightmare. Again, this Indiegogo campaign is going for 5 more days as this episode airs. It ends this Friday, the 13th of December 2019. That's the last chance you have to get in and get these perks. If we make our goal, there will be an in-demand period after that, but we have a little ways to go to get there. So any help is tremendously appreciated, and even if you can't contribute, please share the link out so more people find out about the project. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you again to Mark for joining. I've been Cecil Laird, he's been Mark Phillips, and remember, stay scared.
Stay scared.